Alright guys, what is going on? It's Jack and welcome back to another video, and this video is going to be a comment response video. Now, first and foremost, the gameplay in the background, the first one you're going to see is pretty solid team deathmatch gameplay over here on Black Ops 4, and then the second game that you're going to see is going to be a nice little quick free-for-all in Infinite Warfare that kind of has a story behind it. You'll see it. And I'll probably go into it just a tad bit more when that gameplay shows up if I decide to, depending on how deep in conversation I'm going to be about the subject of the day in this video. And I just wanted to make this very clear before I start. This is not a roasting video. This is a not talking shit video or whatnot. I am pretty sure that the comment that was left was not necessarily meant to be a shit talking comment. It was just an opinion comment, but at the same time, I believe that this comment, although it wasn't necessarily meant to be, I believe that this comment, though, at the same time, undermines certain players, so to speak, and you'll understand when I get into the subject. So, without further ado, I'm going to read this comment right now. So again, this is not a shit talking, so guys, don't roast this guy. This is not a roasting video. This is just, you know, right now it's not peak COD season time. There's less and less content to talk about until we find out more about Black Ops 5 or the Black Ops reboot. So this gave me something to talk about and another subject to talk about in the video beyond what I wanted to do already and what I have in mind already. So I thought it would be interesting. So here we go. So Jose Lopez says, pro players can pub stomp, but on the other hand, pub stompers can't compete at a high level. Now, years ago, now this was a comment made to one of my older videos, but even before that, I've made a video or two talking about comparing respectfully pros and pub stompers. Now, ultimately, I came to the conclusion, as of my most recent one as well, I came to the conclusion that pro players, yes, definitely do have the edge because they compete against other players that are like at the highest level that you can possibly compete in. So, but at the same time, let's break this down a little bit more in depth. Now, first and foremost, I think it's safe to say, and I think everybody can agree, that pub stompers also have gun skill. And as a matter of fact, there was one of the best pub stompers ever during Black Ops 2 days that actually did compete among pros, and I think he did some scrims or whatnot, and that's Ronaldinho. And he made a video talking about it. And if I can find that video, I'll leave it in the link in the description. If I can't, then obviously it won't be there. But Ronaldinho actually played among pro players, and he actually talked to them, and he actually mentioned a few of the things that were discussed in the video. And one of the things that he mentioned was, well, it's all about gun skill. And then after that, it's just basically everything about learning the ropes. Once you have that gun skill, it's all about basically learning the ropes in terms of how things work, like teamwork aspects, call-outs, and of course, getting used to playing the game types. So a pub stomper, just from that alone, I'm going to go in depth in terms of my take as well and go a little bit more in depth. But in terms of that alone, that basically tells you right there that it's all about gun skill first and foremost. And then after that, it's about learning the ropes. And once you spend enough time learning the ropes and playing on the competitive level and doing the call outs and having a couple of pros show you those ropes, because that's extremely important, that the pub stompers, yes, they do need to be coached. But that doesn't mean that they can't compete. Because once you learn to communicate, basically saying that pub stompers can't compete at a high level is basically like saying that oh, these guys can't learn call outs, or they can't learn rotations for hard point or whatnot, and proper strategy and stuff like that. It's like, no, we can. We're just not into that sort of thing. We deal with other things. Pub stompers, okay, and I say we because I myself am a pub stomper. Again, I'm not the highest rate pub stomper like Marka J or anything like that. I'm not top tier. I don't consider myself top tier, even though one of you, and I'm not going to say who it is, even though one of you actually said that I have the ability to slap Marka J if I was in a team against his, just playing against randoms or something like that. You said that to me on Twitter not too long ago. I'm not going to say who it was, but I respectfully disagree. He's in another class of his own, in my opinion. He's one of the top tier players that are like top 5 of all time, in my humble opinion, and I don't stand a chance, in my opinion, against that person. But the thing is, pub stompers deal with different things that at the same time pros don't deal with on a regular basis. For instance, pros, obviously it's team against team, so it's pretty much even on both sides, right? There's, you know, you guys are playing with, for instance, there's equipment that's banned, there are guns that are banned, or whatever the deal is. There's a certain rule set you have to follow. You got to play for the win, so KD ratio doesn't matter, yada yada yada. and at the same time you have your own team you can rely on or whatnot and stuff like that. Pubstompers have to, first of all, we have to rely on 2 extra people that are in the lobby on the opposing team. So a 4v4 or 5v5 versus a 6v6, very different. Well, right now it's 5v5, so there's another person that we have to take into account. As a matter of fact, another 2 people now that it's 5v5 for pros. There's an extra person, which makes for a total of extra 2 people on the map. So that extra person that is on your team could either very much cost you the match because they don't know what the hell they're doing. So there's that part that we're dealing with as well. We're dealing with a bunch for the solo players that don't reverse boost and that actually play legitimately all the way and that don't cherry pick lobbies. We're always going to have to deal with the percentage of every single lobby of there being some sort of noob that is just going to cost us the match and is probably going to get streaks dropped on us because they don't know what the hell they're doing. Sometimes that Pubstomper is also going to be going up against teams of other players. Now, those other players may not be as good, or at the same time, they may be as good. So that in and of itself makes things a lot harder that a Pubstomper has to deal with that pros do not deal with on a regular basis. So when you take into consideration the equipment that's banned that that Pubstompers have to deal with, like everything that's in the game is in it, from streaks to equipment to guns and stuff like that. So there's that to deal with. Plus there's the fact that you got the player or players on the Pubstompers team that are not good, that are going to make things harder for him or her to win the match or to Pubstomp or whatnot. You've got everything like that going on. There's a whole bunch of shit that could happen in a setting like that. Now, granted, respectfully speaking, there's also a whole bunch of shit that could happen on the pro side as well. And you better know what the fuck you're doing, and you better be on your A game, or else you and your team are going to pay the price, because one person fucking up makes the biggest difference for your team on a highly, highly competitive level. Now, don't get me wrong. I am very, very familiar with the video made back during the Black Ops 2 days of when Jay Nasty and other 3 members of Doom Clan went up against 4 professional players in a game of Hardpoint in Black Ops 2 and got absolutely stomped like crazy. Like, it was 250 to 12. The pro players basically stopped trying and stopped communicating like very, very quickly, like after the first minute or so of that match or 2 minutes of that match. I've seen that video time and time again. And here's a little bit of a story. Somebody just got the game a week ago for Infinite Warfare and they decided to talk shit. You can't see the entire message, but this guy kept on talking shit, and that's my response. And this is the game that follows as well. It wasn't the only game I played against this guy. It was one of the many. And so that's the story behind that. But going back on topic here, they also played a game of Capture the Flag and they won 6-0, and the pros were just messing around. So the thing is this. The moral of the story is this. You got to understand that in terms of gun skill, okay, you got Pubstompers like the Marka J, you got Pubstompers like PwnStars.com, and a few others, okay, that absolutely have the gun skill and the decision-making skills in order to become a highly competitive player at the highest rate. The only thing is that they have to take the time to learn the ropes. They have to go through training. They have to go through consistent training in order to in order to basically learn how to be successful at that setting. Because again, if it's a 4v4 or 5v5, that makes a difference right there. Learning the callouts and communication is absolutely positively key in a pro scenario, in a highly competitive scenario. But in pub stomping, it's not. I mean, you're not. Pub stompers don't use that play solo do not compete. It's basically they're just dealt with the cards that they're dealt with, and they try to capitalize on that, whether it's for better or for worse. Sometimes they'll come back and win, and then sometimes they'll come back and lose. So if you look at it from both sides, it really is kind of unfair to say that a pub stomper can't compete at the highest level, because in terms of gun skill, the pub stompers that are legit and the ones that don't reverse boost and so on and so forth are actually very capable of doing it. They just have to go through the ropes and to learn the ropes and basically learn their callouts, learn their rotations, strategies for search and destroy, and all that kind of stuff. They need to put in a lot of time into that, because the pros put in a lot of time in order to get used to a new Call of Duty game, and these people are highly seasoned that have done it year after year. But whenever a new Call of Duty comes out, they have to deal with that on that aspect as well. So but I have said in my original video back years ago that I made comparing the two, that pros ultimately do have the edge. For the most part, pros have the edge because they compete with other people around their skill level, like for the entirety of the season, where pub stompers, they usually do not. However, history and recent times on YouTube, as well as past times on YouTube, have indicated that, and as you know, there's other Pubstompers as well. I'm not even a fan of what's his name, Swag. I'm not even a fan of his, but every once in a while I watch one of his videos or whatnot. He has competed against pro players in different settings as well. He is capable of competing, so it's so you can't really just say that that yes, pros can pub stomp, but pub stompers can't compete at a high level, because we absolutely can, especially for those people that have spent a lot of time playing Call of Duty and have developed that gun skill. All you got to do is go through the ropes and the grind of learning the competitive side of things, because like Ronaldinho said in his video when he was talking to one of the professional players that was kind of coaching him, and when he was doing a little bit of competitive back in Black Ops 2, and he stopped doing it because Ghost sucked as a competitive, so it kind of just ruined his mood, by the way, to go competitive. Otherwise, I think if things were to stay the course like they were in Black Ops 2, I think he would have been a competitive player and a successful one at that. And according to him, he actually did very well. So once you have the gun skill, it's all about whether or not you want to compete after that. So it's just that most of us just don't want to compete, but it doesn't mean that we can't compete if we did, if we had to, or if we had to do it, or if we wanted to. So that's what this video was basically about. I just wanted to touch up on that a little bit, because I found the subject very fascinating. This wasn't a video trying to roast Mr. Lopez over here. This is nothing like that. So please do not. I mean, this is also very. This was a very recent comment to a much older video of mine, but I found the subject so fascinating that I had to talk about it, and at the same time, it is something that both sides of the spectrum need to be reminded of. Both of the people that want to be competitive players, as well as those pub stompers that just want to be the next, Mark of J or something like that. One thing we got to learn is you can't underestimate anybody, and you can't count anybody out of the equation. And all they have to do is learn the ropes. Now, granted, learning to pub stomp is just something that comes naturally in Call of Duty. It's a lot easier to learn than it would be to go competitive, right? Absolutely. And pro players, again, because they more often than not play against players of that caliber, they do have the edge. But you can't underestimate gun skill, and you can't underestimate the fact that somebody's put into years into Call of Duty, even if it is a pub stomp on pub stomping level, because as I mentioned in this video, there are things that pub stompers also go through on a regular basis, especially the ones that don't cheat or reverse boost or whatnot, that the pro players for the most part don't deal with. As a matter of fact, they don't deal with it at all when they play scrims or when they play against each other. Now, granted, when they play in pubs, they do, but at the same time, they spend a vast majority of their time practicing, getting to know the game, coming up with extra strats, because they play competitively and they do it for money and it's their career. But anyway, guys, that's all I wanted to touch up on this video. Let me know down in the comment section what your opinions are on the matter, and did this video kind of open your eyes in terms of seeing it from both sides of the spectrum? And always, comment section, always welcome down below. Every once in a while, when I see a comment that's going to make for an interesting video, I will post it on here. And again, these are not roasting comments or whatnot. If it was, I would have titled that in this video, roasting a comment, but that's not at all. Just talking about an interesting subject. But anyway, guys, let me know down in the comment section. As always, if you enjoyed this video, let me know. And if you didn't, let me know what I can do to make my videos better. And I'll catch you guys on the next one.